Kamala Harris, black men deserve a president who cares about making their lives better. Yeah, she saw all the POA accounts that are all doing like cryptocurrency schemes and thought, I will be able to capture the black men once again, the 20% of young black men. You might as well go on Fresh and Fit at this point. You know what I mean? Provide $1 million in loans that are fully forgivable up to $20K for black entrepreneurs and others that start a business. Support education training, mentorship programs that lead to good paying jobs for black men, including pathways to become teachers. Protect cryptocurrency investments so black men who make them know their money is safe. Launch a national health initiative focused on the illnesses that disproportionately impact black men. Legalize recreational marijuana and create opportunities for black Americans to succeed in this new industry. Wait, what? That last part is a standalone. You don't have to say it for like black men specifically. What the that's crazy. No, it's not a troll. I saw the crypto thing and I immediately knew what was going on. They looked at the fucking environment and they're trying to put the cart before the horse. Like, it disproportionately impacts black men that are incarcerated, but you don't have to say it like that. That's a universal policy. That's a good thing, you know? In any case, what she saw, I assume, is what I have seen as well, which is that like all these podcasts and shit, all these black focused podcasts specifically, do a shit ton of like crypto rug pulls and stuff. So she was like, oh, I'll be able to win back these guys in the young black male demographic by directly being like, oh yeah, I'll protect your crypto assets. Ay, ay, ay. Good luck. It's funny because it is so insanely neoliberal. Like, she, I think, would be able to capture a broader swath of American society. She would piss off a lot more people too if she just straightforward was like, yeah, we're doing reparations. This way you end up, trying to directly target some people because you saw that they watched a podcast and you tried to like hyper target black men of a certain demographic in a campaign that is like hemorrhaging support from said demographic. Good luck. How the fuck did Democrats go from being ahead to now having a tight race and possibly losing? I don't know. Let's take a look.
It is essentially tied. That is both nationally and in the battleground states that really count. And the former president is drawing attention, renewed attention, you might say, for more rhetoric, new rhetoric as well.
The number of white Bernie bros caping for Joe Rogan in my mentions right now, all because of the Sanders team unforced error of coddling bigotry in an ad. Hate to see it. Oh yeah, Bakari Seller's gonna pop off when Kamala goes on Joe Rogan and talks about how awesome it was when she went on. But it was a great way to shit on Bernie Sanders when he went on. Remember when everyone was criticizing Bernie Sanders? My favorite website for the 2020 primary is still relevant to this day. Oh my lord, trust me, this is good. Yesterday I announced that as president, I'll establish a negative income tax program for senior citizens who open a dunk tank that operates 3 weeks in a red district. Yesterday I announced I'll establish an equal pay program for unmarried men who open a donut shop that operates 7 weeks in a parking garage. Yeah, this is tailored off of like, dude, it's crazy because that is literally what's going on. If I clicked on that enough times, we would arrive at a real current active Kamala Harris policy. This level of hyper targeting is so stupid.
Well, about going after his enemies. Caitlin Huey-Burns is on the trail in Pennsylvania for us. Caitlin, good morning.
Good morning. Well, a sure sign that this campaign is in the final stretch, the increased rhetoric. Over the weekend, former President Trump leaned into immigration, but he also warned of what he called, quote, the enemy from within.
In the battleground border state of Arizona on Sunday, former President Donald Trump focused on what has become.
That was one of the most crazy aspects of my talk with the Pod Johns was when John Favreau was like, oh, well, we're fielding a lot of calls from Jewish voters in Michigan that are saying like, no, we like what we're scared about anti-Semitism. And it's like, dude, there is not a single poll that shows that a decent number of Americans in either direction that is in support of any party that wants to maintain the current standard with Israel. And not only that, but there is polling that shows it's their 9th priority for Jewish Americans, because Jewish Americans, much like trans Americans, black Americans, do not exist in a different plane, okay? They're here in the real world with us. And demographically speaking, if they're young Jewish Americans, they have the same interests as other young Americans do. There is no like unifying singular priority in Israel. I'm pretty sure if you're like a young Jewish American that is going to college, You have the exact same considerations and the exact same concerns with respect to, I don't know, cost of living, how expensive rent is, how expensive your textbooks are. And you are more likely on the side of stopping the carnage in the region than continuing to give unlimited weapons to Israel so they can keep killing Palestinians.
A defining issue of his campaign, immigration.
When I win on November 5th, the migrant invasion ends and the restoration of our country begins.
Trump pledged to hire 10,000 more Border Patrol agents after earlier this year opposing a bipartisan bill that would have added 1,500 more personnel, all while ramping up his rhetoric.
We're now known all throughout the world as an occupied.
My favorite part of the pod was when you quoted a direct Obama speech line in Obama voice to the guy who wrote the speech. Oh yeah, that's true. Nation building, was that what I talked about? I forgot. Yeah, I did do that directly to his face. I didn't do the and pussy too, because I know that John didn't write that line.
Country.
Also on Sunday, the former president suggested using the military to go after a, quote, enemy from within on Election Day.
Where is it? We can find the link. Someone can send the link if you want.
We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military.
At a rally in North Carolina, Vice President...
By the way, yeah, Trump is literally every day escalating the conversation. He went to Aurora and was like, the fucking Venezuelans took over your neighborhoods. Like, we're going to purge them. And then he's like, we're going to have the National Guard sort it all out. We're going to kill everyone. By the time the election comes around, he's going to be like, I'm just here to kill every single person. Where I don't know exactly when I brought up the Obama voice. Almost dual loyalty territory. It's like, leave that, especially for young Jewish voters as well. Around 42 minutes. Oh, damn. I almost got it right. And back in the day, I think Barack Obama did a fantastic job of communicating that. Instead of doing nation building in Iraq and Afghanistan, we should do nation building here. That's what he said in 2008. You might have written that. Actually,
it's a
great line.
Very popular Democratic line from way back when.
Yeah. I did the pussy too. Oh, no.
President Kamala Harris slammed Trump for turning down another debate and mainstream interviews.
Why does his staff want him to hide away? One must question, are they afraid that people will see that he is too weak and unstable to lead America?
Earlier in the day, Harris attended Sunday service in the state as her campaign makes a more aggressive push to win over black men, a critical voting bloc for which Trump is also competing. CBS News polling shows Harris has as much support from black voters as President Biden did in 2020, but her campaign has concerns about turnout.
And the Harris campaign released a set of economic proposals specifically for black men. She'll be campaigning in Erie, Pennsylvania today. Former President Trump will be here outside Philadelphia for a town hall that his campaign says will be focused on the economy and inflation.
All right, Caitlin, thank you.
Now, the reason why the polls have tightened over the course of the last month is because, and I'm repeating this statement that I made in the Discord, Kamala Harris turns out going on national television and talking about how much she is exactly like Joe Biden was literally more effective in galvanizing the pro-Trump base and getting undecideds to go for Trump than Donald Trump being potentially assassinated twice. Donald Trump gets assassinated every weekend and the polls don't move. Kamala Harris goes on television and is like, I love Joe Biden. I am Joe Biden. I'm Joe Biden, but like even more annoying. Okay. At least I don't even have the quirky moments where like Joe Biden says, listen, fat. And Americans were like, oh my God, this sucks so bad. Oh, it's awesome. It's hilarious. And they have not stopped. And now they're like, well, it's sunk costs. We've already leaned in this direction too much. We might as well keep going. It is, after all, a truncated campaign.
For more on the race for the White House and our latest poll, we're joined now by CBS News Executive Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto. Anthony, the polling shows already close race has tightened further. Why is that?
Let me start by reminding people just how tight this is. When you look at our estimates across each and every one of the battleground states, one after another is effectively even. So it's a race that either candidate can and may win. But one reason I think this week was highlighted is that you see how differently these candidates and their supporters define what is, not just what ought to be going forward. Let me show you a couple of different examples. Start with the debate over hurricane relief. Trump supporters say that they believe hurricane relief is not going to people impacted by the hurricane. In fact, they accept the claim that FEMA money was diverted to people in the country illegally. And Harris voters say speed of FEMA was just about right and that aid is going to people impacted. But that's just one example. Take another, the economy. Harris voters say that the economy is largely good. They say, or are more likely to say, that the stock market is up this year, that the U.S. has been adding jobs. Trump voters much less likely to say those things. And one more example, the border. Harris voters say that crossings of the border, the U.S.-Mexico border, are down. Trump voters say that crossings are.
I don't like this false presentation because the ultimate argument here is that Trump voters are hallucinating an alternative reality, which is true. They literally are. The issue, on the other hand, is that the real takeaway from this is that the Democratic Party has a real messaging problem. They have a real credibility problem, and they have a more significant messaging problem. Part of that is coming from the capitulation to the right. When you literally frame everything from their perspective and you try to dance around in their waters, you're going to lose. You're going to fucking drown. And that's precisely what's going on here. You should have a long time ago been like, these motherfuckers are hallucinating. They are not real. They are making shit up. We are going to use real data. Look at what's going on. And then we're going to pummel you in the fucking head with emotional anecdotes about undocumented migrants who happen to be your fucking neighbors, who are taking care of their children, who are working 3-4 jobs to make ends meet, who literally deserve a pathway to citizenship. For every single one of the undocumented crimes, all 24 of the homicides that the undocumented people have committed on U.S. soil in this fiscal year, there are a million versions of your neighbors that are coexisting with you peacefully, and Trump wants to fucking rip them away. Why can't the Democratic Party use anecdotes in the same way to communicate the actual reality of the matter? Are they woefully incompetent? Are they incapable? Are they oblivious to the reality? No, it's because they want to lose, and they possibly recognize that immigration is going to become an even larger problem down the line as climate migrants, climate refugees start coming over the border, and we have to start getting Americans primed to killing them before it becomes, too much of a problem for either party. You can't let the Republicans capture that territory entirely. That's it. It's not because they hate the leftists that bad, okay? Please understand. It's also because they are trying to capture that space, not realizing that you will never be able to capture that space, and you should be fighting desperately, tooth and nail, against the Republican priming against migrants.
Up. So what that does is it all underpins this idea. It's not just competing ideologies going forward. It's different views of what is right now in the country.
There's no agreed upon set of facts. So,
yeah, exactly.
On things that are measurable, arguably. So if they get their information differently, who do these individuals trust to provide it to them?
We started by asking people how much they use social media. And both camps, both Trump and Harris voters, do use it. They don't necessarily trust everything they see on it. But one thing they say is that they feel social media makes it easier for them to find people that they agree with. And that's a reminder to everyone when we look at the role of information.
This is the reason why so many motherfuckers hate my coverage over the course of this election, because I keep telling them that, like, the Democrats are sucking dick. They get really frustrated. They get really butthurt when they hear that, because they're like, come on, man, just tell me it's all right. Tell me how bad the Republicans are. Please, just shut the fuck up about the Democrats. And unfortunately, I can't shut the fuck up about the Democrats. I don't know if you noticed this, but, like, I rarely even talk about how much the Democrats suck dick when it comes to Gaza. I keep that as a separate criticism. Whenever I'm talking about the Democratic Party's performance in the upcoming election, of course, I give adequate amount of coverage to Gaza in that context as well. But obviously, there are still far greater problems in terms of the campaigning that the Democrats are implementing. And yet people still don't want to hear it. I have a couple low propensity voters in my orbit that talk about how much they love Donald Trump. And I poll them with regular frequency. It's totally anecdotal and it's, far from the most consequential way of doing this. But I like seeing what they have to say and the likelihood that they will go out and vote. The mid-propensity voter will be voting for Donald Trump. The mid-propensity voter has voted in the past for Donald Trump in 2016, didn't vote in 2020. The low-propensity voter has never voted. He is even more conspiratorial than the mid-propensity voter. He is not voting. The moment that he tells me he's voting, it's over. Donald Trump is definitely winning. Right now, Donald Trump may be winning. All I'm saying is, if you're a Trump supporter who believes in conspiracy theories and kind of is captivated by Trumpian rhetoric, Trumpian sentiment, and you are going out of your way to vote for Donald Trump in California. No, they're not in a swing state. They're in California. That means that there are a lot of mid-propensity voters that are doing the same in swing states. That's the way I look at it. Okay, I hate how parasocial you guys are getting. You do not know any of these people. There are a shit ton of people that I communicate with on a daily basis that I will never have anywhere near the camera. You will never know about them. You guys are being incredibly annoying right now.
Information. It's not just that people are maybe getting right or wrong things or are steered in a different direction. It's that sometimes they very affirmatively go out and look for things that reinforce existing beliefs. The other part is look at sources of information. For Trump voters, Donald Trump is a trusted source of information, as much as their family and friends, and more than a lot of, let's call them experts.
Wait, what? Feel what tells you is true Trump voters? Top answer is Donald Trump. Friends and family, conservative media figures, religious leaders.
As much as their family and friends, and more than a lot of, let's call them experts. But they're not as trusting across the board of all those things. Whereas Harris voters also trust
lame medical scientists. Boo. They trust Joe Biden. By the way, this is also just as delusional. Make no mistake. Liberals like to put themselves up on this pedestal of moral integrity and also intellectual pursuit. And it's like, dog, you just said Joe Biden. You trust Joe Biden? Joe Biden is not to be trusted with his bowel movements. Joe Biden's immediate family members don't trust him with driving a car. And you're over here being like, well, I trust that 800-year-old little demon who has told me time and time again, he's working tirelessly around a ceasefire, Jack. We beat Medicare. I trust him.
Harris very much, but they also trust other sources like the ones that I mentioned across the board. One thing we saw that both camps share is they're concerned about foreign interference, that foreign countries are trying to influence them, the voters, to try to steer this election. And what tends to happen is each camp thinks that Iran, China, Russia wants the other candidate to win this. Where all this comes out is when you look ahead, what happens after the results are counted. Donald Trump's voters are more likely than Harris's to say that his camp should challenge the election if he loses. And they're more suspicious that there will be widespread fraud in this election. That's something, talk about different views of what is, that we need to keep an eye on once the race is over.
Interesting. Anthony Salvanto, thank you.
Thank you.
And for more on our brand new NBC News poll.
Bro, you don't understand. Yeah, Iran, dude. Iran is going to interfere in American elections. I feel like even Russia is too busy, doing their own shit. And so is Iran to hyper focus on the American elections. They don't have enough cash, even on a good day, to swing in that favor. Maybe China, but even then, it's I think they mean Chinese interference is TikTok. That's it.
I am joined now by national political correspondent Steve Kornacki to take us through all of the numbers.
Let's
Steve,
go.
boy, this is a big one.
Yeah, Kristen, the numbers say it. It is a tie game here weeks before the election, and it's that shift. Our last poll taken in the wake of that September.
Dog, 44. He made up so much ground, dude. What did I tell you? Never underestimate the ability of the Democratic Party to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Okay? And they did it. And they did the dang thing. And now it is an unnecessarily tight race with current trends showing a trajectory that favors the Republicans and a trajectory that does not favor the mother Democrats. And the entire time, the Republicans have been running the worst campaign of all time, only to be met with the worst campaign from the Democratic Party. She can turn this around by campaigning with George W. Bush in Michigan. Yeah, that's right.
Debate, Harris had opened up that advantage over Trump, gone in our new poll. What goes into that? What's behind that? I think this one is revealing. This is the basic perception.
Bro, I'm telling you right now, it's going to be real funny come November when the Democrats lose the general election and barely eke out a victory in the Electoral College. And then the next day, the Republicans are going to be like, we need to abolish this shit. We need to abolish this shit pronto. I'm telling you, Democrats are going to win a marginal victory in the Electoral College while losing the popular vote to the Republicans, dude. Oh my God.
Voters have of these candidates. Is it positive? Is it negative? Now, these are not great numbers for either one. Trump 43 positive, 51 negative. He's 8 points underwater, you might say. But look at Harris. Exact same positive score and that negative number almost in the exact same place. And this is it. The last time we polled this question after that debate, Harris had really made up ground in this area. Look, she had a positive rating, 48 to 45. So that advantage has all in the last few weeks in our.
That is absolutely not going to happen, bro. No way, law. I don't think you guys are looking at. I don't think you guys are looking at polling. National polls overall do not favor the Democrats in the way that you think they do. That's number one. Democrats already need a +5 advantage to win national, to win a national campaign in terms of the national polling anyway, the way that the Electoral College is designed. But having said that, the most consistent and the most revealing aspect of this is that low and medium propensity, mid propensity and low propensity voters greatly favor by wider margins the Trump campaign than high propensity voters favoring Kamala Harris. This means that at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break, and no matter what propensity of a voter you are, you're going to still see a 3-minute ad break.
Poll washed away for her. Then there's some issues, some characteristics here. These are advantages in red here that you see for Trump now versus September. On the immigration and the border, we ask voters who would be better on this. In September, Trump had a big advantage. It's gotten bigger. On inflation and the cost of living, Trump.
I don't get it. Kamala Harris keeps talking about, one, the opportunity economy, and two, how she has the most right-wing border bill that she's going to sign first day in office. Why is it that these people don't hear the message? Oh, it must be because she's a woman and black. Yes, that is a part of it, by the way. Perhaps if there was a guy who ahead of time was saying, well, considering that you are, what? This Twitch staffer keeps trying to ask a question but gets hit by Fossabot. What is it? You've talked about less than evil voting a lot before. The other day you mentioned less than evil voting is less bad for Senate elections versus the presidential election. When you talk about presidential less than evil voting being bad, do you mean that voting for the less than evil candidate is bad? Or settling for them, endorsing them because they're the lesser evil is bad in the fight for legislation rather than the candidate? I hate lesser evil voting as an argument because it's a demonstrably unsuccessful argument, okay? But in terms of down ballot races, in terms of like the Democrats maintaining the Senate, that one is a little bit more reasonable because that's where legislation happens, or blocking and pushing legislation and court appointments happen. Ultimately, it's still an inconsequential argument. It's not going to cause people to swing in one direction, but it is one that I'm like willing to entertain. A defensive voting posture is one that I'm willing to entertain. The issue, however, is that once again, my criticisms of lesser evil voting are not about like whether or not it is true in theory. It is more so about the fact that it is a idiotic way to argue because no one gives a right. No random American that is choosing the couch over going out and voting come election day is going to actually go out and vote because they personally have decided like, well, I got to protect American democracy. That's not how it works. In order to activate these people, you have to figure out where the harm is and explain to them how you're going to stop the harm. You put it perfectly when you said, then holding one's vote for Trump is a vote for Harris. Then in the liberal reverse argument, you reverse Uno'd them. I know, but they don't care. They get mad because it's like, you take my vote for granted. Like the entire position is that, you know, your vote is taken for granted. Like they automatically have it. So now you're just not voting for one party over the other. If I was a Trump supporter like openly a Trump supporter who's like, I voted for the Republican Party, liberals will be courting my vote so aggressively. That's how you know all these dumbasses know I'm not a Trump supporter, even though they go, Hasan seems like a Trump supporter. Yeah, right, dude. If liberals actually thought I was a real Trump supporter, they would be sucking my dick every day to be like, oh, what can we do to get your vote, please, sir?
Trump's advantage now hits double digits. And on the question of who represents change, Harris had the advantage in September. She still does, but lower.
So significant because voters are telling us change is a critical issue for them, not the direction you want to be going in there, Steve.
No, absolutely not. And maybe a reason for that, too, is remember, she's the VP in an unpopular administration. Look, we asked Joe Biden's policies as president.
Impact on your family, Biden policies helping 25%, hurting 45%. I wonder, guys, I wonder if the person who replaced this guy should constantly talk about how she is exactly like Joe Biden. I can't seem to make my mind up on this. It's like, maybe, you know what? Maybe if Kamala Harris went on television and told Americans how close she is to the unpopular candidate that was so unpopular that she literally replaced him on the ticket, then Americans will finally catch up.
Do you think they're helping or hurting your family? Look at that. Almost 2-to-1 say hurting more than helping. His job approval rating is in the low 40s. And then here's the twist. When you ask folks, when Trump was president, were his policies helping or hurting? Look at that difference. 44% say helping, 31% say they hurt. So retrospectively, Trump is getting some numbers here. Maybe he didn't even get when he was president. And then this is, in perspective, the challenge that Harris faces. These are the modern vice presidents like Harris, incumbent vice presidents, running while their boss was still in office. And just look, 88, George Bush Sr., his boss Reagan had nearly a 60% approval rating. Bush won. 2000, Clinton was at 60%. Gore didn't win, but he won the popular vote. We can say that.
It's not like you have been saying it over and over again for weeks, even before seeing the polls, these polls. Yes, I've been saying that because I think it's objectively a dog shit way to campaign, because I've seen Democrats run that way and lose time and time again. So I was just simply looking at the past and looking at the mistakes of prior Democratic Party campaigns. And yet something that I can see clearly, they simply cannot. I don't know why. I don't know why they have this like obvious inability to recognize why this would be a stupid idea, but there they are. Hasan, she isn't losing the popular vote when she's getting close to or right at 50% in high quality polling. Dude, what are you saying right now? First of all, I said it would be really funny, and it's not that crazy of a reality to assume that come November, Kamala Harris loses the popular vote and then wins the Electoral College. That's the one thing I mentioned. Okay. Your counter to that is that she's getting close to or right at 50% in most high quality polls. Does that seem like she's going to definitely win the popular vote? I know that there's a lot of junk polls out there. I know. Okay. But you're not making the argument that you think you're making. This is precisely why I said that if low to mid propensity voters come out in high numbers because for one reason or another, they were activated by Donald Trump because they think Donald Trump is going to defend their interests. They think Donald Trump is going to fix the economy. They think Donald Trump is, going to do this or that. Somehow, Donald Trump is going to make podcasting legal again or something. I don't know. They come out, Kamala Harris absolutely loses the popular vote.
And here's Harris, and just look how different the atmosphere is. Biden's approval rating in our poll, only 43 points. She's running in a totally different atmosphere than previous incumbent vice presidents did. And then we could talk about issues. This is an interesting way. Typically in the past, we've just given folks a list of issues, said, are they important? Here we've asked a question, is this issue so singularly important that it's the entire basis of your vote for president? And you could see abortion comes in number one there.
And that's so significant. This is the first presidential election after Roe v. Wade was overturned. Hugely significant. Abortion is at the top. Usually we're talking about the cost of living as being the energizing factor.
Absolutely. And I think the Harris folks, if they're looking for good news in this poll, it's this, because this issue is her biggest advantage over Donald Trump. And you could see, as you say, potentially a motivating factor. And one more note here, just got to show this. The gender gap. We always talk about gender gaps in presidential races, but how about this? Trump by 16 among men, Harris 14 among women. That is a 30-point difference between those two. If that happens on Election Day, that's one for the history books. We've never seen it that high.
Yeah, an historic gender gap for sure. All right, Steve Kornacki, as always, great stuff. Thank you.
Kristen.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
And for more now on the state of the race, let's bring in Rachel Scott to break down the numbers in our latest.
This is so funny. This guy, Ollie Winston, investigative reporter, criminal justice, privacy, whatever. Okay, says, Hasan is dead right about this. Young men have been ignored as a demographic by Dems, the left, for roughly a decade, and the consequences have been abysmal. You've left them with no counter to Andrew Tate, Jake Paul, knuckle-dragging, bro-culture grifters. First of all, I literally am that counter. And then he responds to this person who has limited their post to me. Oh, he's a dipshit, but the rule of broken clock applies here. Perhaps your idiotic approach to American politics is part of the problem. Because one, you do not recognize me as a counter to this. And you also personally think I'm a, dipshit. There you go. That's it. Like, all these people are like, oh, I wonder who's the guy who's like reaching out to young men. This community is dominated by young men, and a platform that is also dominated by young men. I'm the guy. It's just a lot of liberals will simultaneously be like, why is nobody reaching out to these young men? And then they turn around and look at a guy who is, and they go, oh, he sucks because I don't agree with a clip chimp that I saw of him. I've seen people on Twitter literally call you leftist Andrew Tate for saying the Democrats should improve on their messaging by stopping the genocide. These people are psychos. Yeah, exactly. Wait, no, Megaphonics, you misunderstand. To be fair, and not that this person is making this point, but you're not really the Andrew Tate for the left. You're just a personality figurehead, but it's not like you're stooping to the same levels of Tate with just a different bend. You're fundamentally better. No, but those people think I am the Andrew Tate of the left. And then they yell at me. That's the point. They yell at me because of my communication style. They yell at me because of my worldview. They think I am a bad faith grifter for being authentically myself, not recognizing that I provide a perfect counterbalance to the likes of these POA podcasters. Because I am, in many ways, everything that they genuinely represent themselves as: a successful man, a cisgender, heterosexual, successful man who women aren't immediately disgusted by, who isn't running around showcasing his material possessions in an effort to, I don't know, accrue some kind of social capital. So they have no active or effective, the PUA podcasters and the bros don't have a legitimate counter. So all they can do is, oh, you're gay, dog. You wore a dress one time. And to that I say, yeah, I'm comfortable in my sexuality. I don't give a yeah, I'll wear a dress and I'll look more brolic than you ever could. That's it. But when dumbass liberals see that shit, they also personally go, ugh, this guy's too broy. I don't like him. He's disgusting. He's nasty. Or, I don't agree with the way he interprets American foreign policy, so I'm going to hate him. He's a terror supporter, blah, blah, blah. It's fucking stupid. Anyway, ultimately, a big part of the problem is that obviously the algorithms are right-wing boosted. That's it. Come to the right, all love. Yeah, if I had no morals, I would have been the absolute best right-wing grifter on the planet.
This poll, and Rachel, this is a real toss-up now.
Yeah, Whit, this race was close. It is given even closer now with just 22 days to go. Now just 2 points separating these two candidates in this final stretch. Vice President Kamala Harris at 50%. She still has the edge over former President Donald Trump at 48%. This is within the polls' margin of error. But I want you to take a look at where this race stood just a few weeks.
Yeah, the momentum favors Trump and does not favor Kamala Harris. But the reality is, of course, the momentum doesn't favor Kamala Harris and favors Donald Trump. Kamala Harris has been running a dogshit campaign. The funniest aspect of this, of course, is that Kamala Harris Harris's popularity has declined. Her negatives are up. Her popularity has started waning. Positive sentiment is going down. Negative sentiment is going up. I wonder what changed. She's constantly on camera. Okay, she's presenting herself in the worst way possible to a broader audience because she's listening to her dumbass analysts in a goddamn closed circuit telling her that it's the smart thing to do, that you got to keep hugging and kissing the Republicans, not remembering that you are running against Republicans. Okay, you're running against the Republican Party. Hello. Why would you say that you like the Republicans when you were running against the Republicans? When she launched her campaign as a bold progressive that was going on offense against Republicans, she was a rocket ship. And then she cut that as quickly as possible. Every single advisor needs to be fired.
I'm sorry, you're fired. Get out of here. Right?
Anyway, but you know what's even crazier? Abortion is a top motivating issue and the best issue for Harris. That's still carrying her and the reason why she's not underwater. Once again, this is such a Republican election that, one, both parties are saying that they're Republican, okay, to varying degrees. But what's funny is the only reason why it's even a contested election is because of the success of the Republicans in terms of abortion. If they had not overturned Roe v. Wade, this would not even be a conversation. This would not be a conversation. Another thing that I'll say, if January 6th didn't happen, this would not be as contested of a race, because there are a lot of Republicans that got picked off because they were like, ugh, I hate it. That's gross. I can't believe that they did that to the Constitution. I love the Constitution. I love hugging and kissing the Constitution. I love putting the Constitution in my ass. There's a lot of card-carrying Republicans that feel that way. They were like, ooh, it's crazy what Trump did. So like both of those reasons that Trump is not doing incredible work right now in the polls are directly his own fault. Israel, more important than guns or healthcare. Vast majorities want a ceasefire, and she's supporting an expansion of the war. Pathetic. Excuse me. Excuse me. Israel's military conflict against Hamas or Hezbollah seemingly is the 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth most important issue. But I'm going to read that as it's the fifth most important issue that Americans want and want to support Israel on. That's the way I'm going to read this as, okay? Sorry, you will never tell me that it's not that significant. Still the fifth? Yeah, of course it's the fifth. Americans do not care about foreign policy. They don't care about foreign policy until it's the only thing they care about. We're not there. Seemingly, Israel can do as much death and destruction as possible as long as American soldiers are not directly engaged, which they might be now that they have American soldiers doing operating missile defense systems inside of Israel. Americans, until they go directly into war, they're not going to give a shit. This is still pretty high, though. They care about it more than guns, healthcare, Social Security, and Medicare, dude. Are you kidding me? Anyway, hey, guess who's doing objectively better on Israel, by the way? Wait, don't they have this here? Handling Israel's military conflict with Hamas. What is this? 48% say Trump would do better. 30% say Kamala Harris would do better. Is that what it is? Am I reading this correctly? So 18 points. Nice. How did they do this? Deal with inflation and the cost of living. 50% say Republicans will do better. 39% say Democrats will do better. Kamala Harris will do better. The vice presidential debate did a great disservice showing what the reps are normal, likable, and relatable, and that they have more in common than you think and not weird fascists, etc. I know. It was a major mistake. Yes, look at the top, dummy. No, the way that they did this is weird because they swap out the blue and the red. No, they don't. Blue is Dems and reds is reps. More than 50% of Americans appear to support Israel. Do you think that's actually true or what? No, I don't. They play fast and loose with the data whenever they bring up any kind of like support for Israel that's beyond marginal.